Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the market wrap up for the 1st of May 2020. So, one of the best parts about a new month, it means new monthly candles. So, as anyone will tell you who's been following this for any length of time, we like to take a little bit of a look at the month. And this is something that I learned from JC at All Star Charts. If you haven't heard of him, go check him out. A great resource for everything technical, and really just kind of shows you, the forest for the trees, right? That's the main point of taking this big step back and saying, okay, what actually happened this month? Because if you're a day trader like I am, or a swing trader like I am, you're very much focused on the what's happened today and what's happened in the last few days, on the swing trades that you're working on. So I always like to take this step back, and I always like to take a look at it and say, okay, this is what happened this month. This is where we are in kind of the grand scheme of the markets, and then go into the weekly, which I do at the end of every week, and then go into the daily. And usually I only show that last little bit, but I decided to show a little bit more this time because we had no trades this week, as you can see up here. So there's no addition to the sheet. I'm just going to put zeros across it and all of that. So let's spend a little bit more time on the actual market itself. Let me grab my pen here, because essentially what we're doing here is we're just, trying to declutter our head is what actually has happened over the last few months with all this coronavirus news and all that. We had a monthly topping tail right here, and then sold down quite dramatically throughout here, and then this big monster day or month, and then we have actually reversed most of that this month, but still it's an inside candle to last month. So the grand scheme of things is to think what actually happened in April. Well, April is well inside March's range, right? This is March's range way out here. And, as far as April is concerned, we're well inside of that. And I like to take that big step back and say, okay, what's actually going on? So now let's zoom in here into the weekly chart, time frame, weekly, and see what's going on here. One thing that's very important to note that I see on this instantly is we've got this big gap here. And that big gap has now, over the last few weeks, come back up and it's got filled. And then once we filled that gap, we put in this huge kind of a topping tail inverse hammer right here, right at the top of that gap, which is pretty crazy to see. So now that we filled that gap and we put in that hammer, I'm honestly expecting a pullback week next week, but you guys know I don't really trade off these. It's just to kind of get an idea in mind. Maybe back to the 200-week moving average that we bounced here. We put in a fight here, and then when we broke through, it happened on a gap. We climbed back up. So that area has been important to us, this 200-week moving average here. I would not be shocked if we get a little pullback to here, maybe before moving higher, or maybe just to start this kind of sideways chop. So into the daily, and what do we see on the daily time frame? Because the beauty of all of this charting is it's all fractal. So we can go to different time frames and see what's up. And I kind of look at this and say, okay, well, we've got this rising wedge that we kind of just popped out of here on Friday. Again, more synopsis for maybe a pullback happening here. Who knows? We'll wait and see on that one. So, right, that wedge right there. So what happened this week? So I saved RP and APRN just to show you why there's no trades this week, and it kind of happened. The other two just really didn't get too much close to triggering, I don't think. But I just want to show you why I automate trade this instead of just putting out a stop order to get me in or something like that, is because APRN gapped down right out of the base that I was looking for. I was looking for this kind of sideways chop, and then I was thinking it was going to break down, and then it gapped up and sold off, right? So no fill, which is fine. And then same with RP. RP was the same kind of move. We had this gap up and run, never came back to fill me. And then I tell the bot, if I miss it because of a gap type like that, don't bother getting me in. So now we're on to this month because we had essentially nothing happen at all last week. So let's delete these two and let's look at what we're looking at for this week and see what's going to happen. So first here, we're looking at EHTH. Had this gap, came back up to fill most of the gap and some, and then back down, and we have this bear flag going on right here. This sideways chop after this big down move. I'm thinking that if we break lower, we could continue, maybe try to touch the 200-day moving average on that one. If you zoom out a little bit further on this one, it actually does kind of look like, right, we may have shoulder here and a head here and a shoulder here. And I think that was on the weekly chart that I saw that. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, must not have been. Okay, so next is IDRM. Kind of the same thing. In the grand scheme of thing, we have this upward channel right here that broke out here on Tuesday. And then internal of this, we have this down move and this sideways action. So we have a bear flag inside or just outside of this upward sloping channel, which may actually be a bear flag. So we may have a small bear flag and a big bear flag on this one. MOH has had this kind of strong push up and this sideways chop. It's come down here to test the short-term moving average twice and got rejected off at both times. So I think if it breaks over that, it may have a bit to move. And UFI. So basically the thinking with UFI is we have this wedge down here after this big move. Not a huge short interest on this one, but a little bit. And we've kind of gapped up above that. So I think if we break above here, maybe we back and fill a day or two and then we break up. I think we still have room to go. There's room all the way to the 200 here at 20. But, even if we got a couple points in there, that's a great trade. So that is it for this week. A little bit shorter than normal, but nothing really happened. And that's fine. Again, if I was a younger trader, I would be upset by that. I was the kind of guy that in my head, I'm like, if you're not trading, you're not profiting. So hurry up and make a trade. Maybe there's even nothing there for you. More importantly, I think it's just to say, hey, stay out. If there's nothing firing, just walk away. And if I could have done that every time that I felt that FOMO of I want to trade, I'd be way better off than I am now. So I'm glad that I've kind of offloaded that to a system and it can now trade for me. So okay, guys, that is it for this one, and trade safe out there.